All right. I think we're live. We're live here. All right. Now we go again. We at here with another office hours. Hopefully better audio this time around. Should be coming out both of the speakers. And I am your guest here, Ronald. Ronald is here to tell you what it is today. And today's topic is about the harsh reality of being a software engineer. So I got a couple of things up right now. I didn't really do too much research on this particular office hours, but I am going to try to hopefully rely on you guys to give me some interaction so I can, bring some more energy, some more essence to this office hours, and we can get this through. And this might be a very short office hours depending on how everything goes, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'm not going to be circumventing throughout these different topics, but hopefully everything goes well. But all right, so I do, even though I don't have a whole bunch of details researched out for this particular office hours, I do have a couple of points that I did want to talk about. And these points are in regards to pretty much essentially the harsh realities of being a software engineers. And being a software engineer, there's just a couple of things just to take in consideration. One being that one of the topics I want to touch on in this office hours is burnout. The other one I want to touch on is the broken tech interviews. Then the other one I want to talk on is imposter syndrome. And the last bit I also want to talk upon, which is it's kind of good and also a bad thing at the same time. But I mean, this is general with any kind of technology and general with any type of revolution of tech is you always got to learn. You always need to be staying up to date with every single thing that you're essentially working on as a developer or software engineer. So the latest function that needs to be used in replace to something that became deprecated, that's something that needs to be discussed. So we're going to be hitting on these four different topics, and pretty soon I'm just gonna wait a little bit to see if anyone comes in, but I'm just gonna set myself up and hopefully you guys enjoy the office hours and answer some questions. Give me a like on the stream. Let me know if you guys enjoying this content, enjoying this live stuff, and I can continue to do it possibly after this month. But I am setting a limit on myself for this month. I am gonna end office hours for this month and see if we come back with another show and another batch of this series. All right. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Before we get into it, we're gonna get into it pretty soon. We're gonna touch on the first topic, which is burnout, and essentially what this is. This is really important because a lot of people have different perceptions of what burnout is, and like I don't even think mine's is right in particular, but I think everyone, based off of their particular personality and where they feel like they're bringing to the table, that that essentially what makes someone continue like gets burnout. So my definition of burnout might be completely different from someone else, and I wanna touch on that on that bits of why burnout, why is it happening, and why is it even happening at a higher rate for for the tech community. All right, so I'm gonna give it a couple of seconds. I'm gonna get myself ready. I do want to show you guys, like, check this out. I can switch screens now. We're doing it big. I can show you exactly what I'm looking at, and it'll be right there on the screen. Let me see if I can reorganize this. I don't know if I could do this live because it's on center, but is I think this is pretty cool. I know one of the things I wanted to work on with this live stream stuff is, making it work out where you can see the whole screen, rather you see a little bubble like in the middle. But right now I just did the best I can do, and I believe the audio. I did some audio checks here, and I made sure everything was right this time around. But hopefully things go great and I can do some awesome stuff here. All right. So let's get started on the topic number one. So topic number one, burnout. So if we check out a definition of what is burnout, like in Google, Google has a different perception of burnout than most, right? And this perception kind of, I say, is more of a general sense overall. And the definition on Google, it says this: burnout is a form of exhaustion caused by constantly feeling swamped. It's a result of excessive and prolonged emotional, physical, and mental stress. In many cases, burnout is related to one's job. Burnout happens when you're overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to keep up with life's insistence demands. So, yeah, I one of the things I got from that for the most part, I like the fact when it actually put into different parts of what excessive is, like prolonged excessiveness, as far as emotionally and physically and also mentally, like all those things. Like there's so many different parts about what makes someone break down and feel exhausted and not motivated to continue to do what they're doing. And I think that's very, very important to understand that people are not machines. And I think a lot of people, especially in business, think, all right, we're giving people wages or we're giving something and they should be happy that they're getting this money. But there's way more than money that makes someone want to be continued to motivated. And if someone's not taking care of their emotional needs or physical needs or mental needs, then that person essentially is going to get broken down little by little, and they're not going to be effective and productive. And I think some companies are coming to the realization of that. Some companies are just continuing to be tone deaf in regards to that. But burnout is a very serious thing, and it actually makes people, quit. And I think I talked about this in my last live stream, but essentially it's probably one of the reasons why it's leading to the great resignation now. People are just realizing that they can pick what they want, they do what they really want to do, and they can make it happen for them and in the way they want it to happen. So this great resignation is just a big part of that piece. And I just want to, like bring that to the surface of that. It's like making it happen for you, making things work for you. And I think one of the most important parts of burnout is people don't usually get acknowledgement. And this is from my standpoint. Um, what makes someone feel like they want to continue to do it or continue to go on with it is that there's some overall arching reward at the end of the day. Sometimes it could be just appreciation, a thank you, um, some type of token that keeps them wanting to continue to be part of this effort, this part of this initiative. And yeah, and there's other, factors or rewards that people might have. So I actually want to bring up a video I just recently watched before this. Um this live stream is with Mayuko. Shout out to Mayuko if you're watching this. And I really like how she put it. Essentially, people want stability, people want like different aspects, and what usually there's some kind of reward after all these underlying things. So stability or um like for instance, like she mentioned that people want to get fame jobs. Fame jobs is probably just one thing, but the reward would be some type of recognition or status. And people want financial stability, or actually on salary, and but the reward that would be financial stability. So like these big salaries in tech and stuff will give you financial stability and all these other things. So like there's always some type of reward at the end of like something, why someone wants something. So yeah, and like even though like salary is like big, but there's some things that make people more motivated to continue to work with a company or work with them for a very long time. And everyone's built different, everyone has a different mindset in regards to how they approach things and how they, approach things mentally and emotionally. And I really like Mayuko's channel because I think she's probably one of the first person who actually, mention like the emotional side of tech. And I think a lot of people don't really talk about that since I found her channel. And I really like that piece of, how does that actually make you feel? Why are you doing it and the reason why you're doing it and stuff. So she's probably one of the first people I actually watched when I started to get into software engineering. And yeah, it was actually pretty interesting. And then now she's doing a full YouTube, and that's really awesome for her. So yeah, shout out to Maiko. If you're watching this, you know, you're doing it big. You know what I'm saying? I'll mention you on this office hours. But I want to bring it back to the burnout. So I think one of the reasons why this burnout happened and the culture behind this whole entire burnout, it almost kind of brings me back to listen to this one story about how when people actually start like making programming languages and stuff like that, it was like really young people who started to pick this up and started to run with it. And like young people, start making money at a very young age, started coding in the like early 1900s and something like that, mid 1900s. And essentially, what they were saying is that it was really cheap to have these young teenagers or young adults essentially to put them into just constantly coding and constantly, outputting code. And they would do it for like, you know, $5. And it was like, cool. I mean, I just read a manual on how to use it. And you say you want to do this, I'll build it out for you. So you got these young folks essentially coming out and doing these codes and building these projects for big companies. And then one of the people, it was pretty interesting. I think I want to say I heard this from Bill Gates. Bill Gates, when he did an interview a long time ago, I want to say that's it. But he was saying, yeah, he just made Microsoft or something outside of his garage, and essentially a lot of people were doing like crazy garage projects, but essentially he was trying to make Microsoft, and he sold it. Well, not really sold it, but he built it out and built out in his company. He became a really rich young individual in his 20s from building something that he's just having fun with other people. So it kind of like brings it to that culture, and people just working hours, and it even showed in like certain social media movies, like for instance the Social Network movie about Facebook, saying that they're like living in this house in California building code, and one of the things they coined a lot was, hey, he's in the zone, or don't touch him or whatever like that. Let him continue doing, he's like in the zone trying to build out this feature, and drinking like crazy amount of stuff and Mountain Dew and stuff like that. But see, that's one of the reasons, like one of the things, like something's going to give. And going back to the definition, emotionally, physical, and mentally. So if you're not taking care of yourself physically, then like for instance, eating right or exercising or whatever like that, that's gonna break down. But if you're taking care of yourself physically, you're not taking care of yourself emotionally. Do you really want this, or how you really feeling about this particular thing, or are you getting the appreciation that you should get for building this, or someone's just like hammering you saying, this is not good enough, but you continue to think you're doing well enough and you're doing your best, like that might break down. And then mentally, it's just straining, constantly trying to figure out constant hard problems. And some of these problems aren't really hard, but some problems are, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And are you really like giving yourself breaks from constantly stressing about these problems? Hey, Tammara, how's it going? Glad to see you back. I appreciate it. And yeah, just going into the first topic of this office hours, and the first topic right now, hidden point, is burnout. And yeah, just going over that spill of like why is it high and why did it occur and why does it continue to be an issue kind of thing. And I just going like in the realms of all right, just breaking down like something's gonna break over time as you continue to work in this career in some kind of fashion. It's usually emotionally, physically, or mentally. And yeah, I just just broke it down recently. Maybe I'll do a playback later on and review it. But essentially, yes, burnout is a really big issue in the harsh reality of being a software engineer, and being able to recover from that is big as well. So actually, let me put up an article that I recently read back about like treatment of prevention of burnout because I'm not a psychologist or a therapist or whatever. So essentially, it's like here's a treatment guide or a help guide to recognize if you have burnout or prolonged stress, excessive stress for a prolonged time. And essentially, there's like a lot of like some of the symptoms is feeling like helpless, not motivated, or feeling unappreciated. And I think that's one of the things I feel when I get burnout for the most part. Not so much the physical piece, hmm, not so much the mental piece, but I usually get burnout emotionally for the most part. So yeah. And then it's actually I didn't even know it was like physical signs. So like feeling tired and drained, for instance. Um and then you like lower immunity and stuff, having headaches, changing appetite and sleep habits. I do go to sleep super late. So maybe it is. All right, and then you got signs of, symptoms of burnout, all this stuff, emotional signs. You got behavior signs too. So like isolating yourself from others, using foods and drugs or whatever. Don't do that. It's never a good outlook. Um, Trying to drown your sorrows and your worries and your stress into drugs. So high component of that, I drink water. Continue to drink water, folks. And but for the most part, going to just constant cause of all of this and just a lifestyle of this particular being constantly burned out. I think they're going into like how to, you know, all right. So they got some tips here. Reach out to your closest ones and, be sociable with your workers and like tell them like why you feeling like a certain way and limit your reaction with negative people. I definitely agree with that. You definitely in this particular industry, you can definitely have some negative Nancy people who will just continue to nag you, or it's like, man, that's not right, or hey, do it this way. And then sometimes it's right, it's coming from a good place, and sometimes it's just being super negative without giving you no constructive feedback. And yeah, it's not cool. Oh yeah. And then let's see, reframe. So like rebalance your life and stuff, make friends at work, take time off. And I am starting to get a huge component from this. Like taking time off is so essential will to alleviate this burnout. Like it helps me be completely like I'm not really completely refreshed sometimes, but frequently taking more time off to recover from burnout or getting close to the brink of burnout is so important. So, take your time. You got the PTO, you utilize it. Don't save it up. Because I think one of the things that people are afraid to do during this time is, hey, I want to continue to work. I want to continue to show my best foot forward. I want to show my best foot and tell them I'm dedicated to output and do this and do that. I think when I first came onto this company, when I first came onto this job that I recently came on the last 7 months, is I was speaking to one of the directors when I was doing the interview, and he was saying if you feel like you need to, take time, whatever like that, take it. Do not work your butt off here. Do not try to work extra hours if you do absolutely do not have to. Like he said it was a really huge component of um, not doing extra stuff that is not necessary. If like certain situation comes up like a production issue or whatever, then we can talk about, hey, how can we get this done, but we're never gonna say you're obliged to do this, you are obligated to do this. It's like we're gonna try to work around with you and how your family and stuff works. That was a really huge selling point for me, because right now I am trying to understand that balance and trying to get more of that balance. And I think that's what a lot of people doing this great resignation is, how can they find balance with, you know, with a job and being with a company that requires you a lot of time outside of not, being with your family. And I just saw that flexibility. I saw the attention behind his statement, and it really sold me. And so far, nothing, seriously came up. So yeah, that's one of the things I look for now in a company is like, do they actually have that culture of, taking breaks, not working like crazy hours or always overworking just to get something done because a customer really wants it, or they don't know how to say no. Um, it's so important. And I think one of the things too is being able to say no. Oh, bam, set boundaries. Boom. I didn't even read this whole entire article, but being able to learn how to say no is so important. So let me actually, I did show that on the video, but yeah, on this article, it says, yeah, be able to set boundaries, learn how to say no to requests on your time. So it's so important. Um, and I learned that much earlier on in my career as well. Um, I used to say no like constantly if I didn't want to do something. It's like, actually, no, I actually got to go. I got to do something else. Will you be able to, put someone else on that? Got some family things, got something I have to do. And I have to go in detail. It was like, hey, family medical. I got some medical family things I got to take care of after the work. Sorry, I can't do it right now. Can you find someone else? I might be able to look into it later on if I have time. But if I don't, try to, fill my spot with that. And yeah, I think that comes with time. Like being able to say no to stuff. And sometimes it's not really saying no, it's like being very creative on how you say no. And I got really creative on how to say no. Yeah, so, I learned, priorities. My priorities right now is very important. And my priority right now, as always, should be number one, my family. And on top of that is my wife. So taking care of my wife, then she's able to take care of everyone else. And overall, our family is healthy. Got to take care of that foundation. So, um, burnout is one of the biggest things. I want to get into the next thing. Is the number two thing is broken tech interviews. So if gone through this whole entire career without doing a tech interview, I mean, sometimes that's the case, because I would say my first job, it wasn't really a tech interview. It was more of like, what was like your behavior or your approach or your attitude towards things. And that's my first full-time software engineer job. It wasn't like I had a whole bunch of contracts beforehand, but my first full-time software engineer job, they they seen how I approach things and how how did I go about, looking into certain situations. And did I have like some knowledge about certain things that they're doing? So I wouldn't say that was like really a tech interview. Where, tech interviews in the standards of like thing like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. So with those type of tech interviews, you have to do like, so let's see. So it's like coding questions. So you're given a prompt and you have to code out some code. Or you also have to talk through your solution, why this is your solution. And then towards the end of it all, you have to do some type of um, analysis. So two analysis. One of the analysis is the time complexity analysis. The other one is the space complexity analysis. And one refers to how well something will scale up as far as time, how long it will actually scale up in time. So as more inputs increase, will it increase in time proportionally or exponentially or factorially or log logarithmic. I can't really say that word. Logarithmic, and so on. Same thing with the space complexity. As inputs increase, what's the space complexity of it will increase. So I've seen a lot of YouTubers talk about this. I'm gonna pull up some right now, and essentially, you know, you have Ben, you have Nick, you have Emma, and you have Clement, and you got some other ones in here as well. And essentially, yeah, they just talk about, and you got some people who say coding reviews aren't really broken. I say each his own, but I think for the most part, it definitely depends on what the company is looking for and why. Um, from my standpoint, I don't really think code interviews really tell you what you actually do in the job. And I've seen this with some people who's talked about this. I did do a code interview to get a job, um, and but I didn't take the offer. But it's like one of the things that they were asking for is how to like do some type of coding question. I forgot what it was, but like for instance, how many numbers, how many ones in consecutive ones is probably one of them, right? It's probably one of my YouTube videos if you could check it out. But yeah, that's just give an example. It's like what does it actually have to do? And I see it from the Fang company standpoint, and I also see it from my standpoint. And from the Fang standpoint, it shows your ability to break down a problem and solve it and be able to articulate what you're solving for. So, those are highly like high great qualities of being a software engineer. You need someone who's able to look at a problem, break it down in some fundamental parts, and be able to articulate that with other engineers and say, all right, if I did have more time, I can improve it in this type of fashion because right now this time complexity is not, the way I would want it to be. And I believe I can improve it in this particular way to reduce, duplicate work or whatever. So yeah, I think that's a really important part of understanding like tech interviews. And I'm gonna go over probably in my data structures and algorithm videos probably after this series or maybe during this month if I get a chance to record it. But essentially, why I failed my Google interview. And so far, I had two Google interviews. One where I failed the phone screening interview. So, well, not the phone screening. I didn't fail this phone screening. It was the phone screening, then the phone tech interview with one person, and then yeah. So I failed that piece, the phone tech interview. I didn't fail the phone screening interview, but the other piece was after the second time I went, past the phone screen, past the tech phone screen interview, and then I went to the last bit of it, which is the 4 rounds with other engineers and doing two coding questions a day, and yeah, and it was like a 3 day like long process. It was pretty interesting, but towards the end of it all, I was exhausted, but it was really fun. I'm not gonna lie, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Maybe because I really like the people who was asking the questions. I really like how it's like broken down. And I'm gonna go over it later on why I failed in another video, but essentially I did fail. And I I think I would think it was really cool. The only thing I did wish I would have towards why I failed is a little feedback why I failed. And I think spoke with the recruiters, and the reason why they don't give feedback anymore because now we're in the digital age. And because I remember like almost everyone's name. Essentially, it was a couple of interviewees who went and found them on LinkedIn and harassed them. I was like, wow. It's like, well, I see that. Um, and I guess I couldn't get my, I couldn't get my feedback because of that. But that's why I wish I really had it was the feedback towards the end to see exactly why I missed on, because I think I killed it in the sense of breaking it down and being able to articulate it. The only thing I didn't kill it on was on the first one. I didn't get to finish it. On the second, third, and fourth one, I spoke it out. The person understood what I was doing. Third person understood what I was doing, and the fifth person understood what I was doing. And I would say for the most part, and 80% done with most of them. But time consumed my coding. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting moment. I have notes on those particular moments. I can't really talk about what coding questions I had because I signed a non-disclosure of what type of questions I had. But I will discuss like some other bits where I won't disclose what I did or what type of questions was. But yeah, it was really cool. But then you know, I constantly hear, and sometimes I think as well, some companies don't really need this type of coding interview style. Like Google's a really big company, and they need really great engineers to be able to know how to scale high performance solutions for them. And some companies don't need all of that. Sometimes they just need a web page that would load data and be able to paginate that data. There's nothing really scalable with that. And that's why I say some coding interviews are broken. Not all coding interviews are broken. And yeah, and the crazy part is like sometimes you get an interview by someone who's not understanding completely what this coding question is asking for. And I solved it in a different way than they expected, and in so many different ways you can solve a coding question. And yeah, I didn't, and they didn't think they expected to solve it in this way. But I mean, the code ran and it solved it. So yeah, I don't know. So there you have it. It's like some companies try to implement this style of Google on Feign type of style of coding interviews, and sometimes it's a miss because they don't have the right people who's doing the interviewing, and sometimes it's not the best fit for that type of company. Like your company probably doesn't need like those type of engineers, even though you want those type of engineers. Um, I don't think it's highly needed for your type of work. And yeah, that's where you get things. That's where you continue to see YouTube videos that say code interviews are broken. All right. So yeah, make sure you hit the like on this stream. If you're enjoying the content so far, hit me a comment or hit me in the live chat to let me know how things are going. Are you guys feeling good? Are you feeling great about this comments? Like what kind of the things you want to add to the discussion? So let me know. So yeah, and even at like when I would say the people who get into like these fame jobs and fame companies and stuff, they even say to themselves, so it's like all the stuff that I study for, lead code, all the cracking the code interviews and stuff, and I'm doing nothing related to none of those problems. I'm doing something like sometimes very simple, and yeah, goes back to what the company is actually looking for, and at the very beginning of some of these tech companies, at the very beginning, they ask really super weird questions before they start going to the coding interview tech questions, and they were going into exactly like riddle type situations. And I think that's what these coding interviews are, is like these are the riddles, and they want to see how your approach is and will you be able to articulate that approach, like I said before. All right, we got some comments from Tammara. Hey, let's see. She said, I love how transparent you are. Do you plan to apply to a FANG company again? So the question, the crazy part is I do something every single year in regards to FANG company interviews. And for the most part, I don't really apply. Like they hit me up every single year for the last couple of years now. And like I said, like last year I failed my Google interview. I was on the last round of my Google interview, pretty close to, finish it all. And yeah, so they usually hit me up. If they don't hit me up this year, I might not do it right away, or we'll see. I might use one of my connects that who's working at Google and see if they can hit me up with an interview. But I try to do something every single year with a FANG company, do a FANG interview, and try to test my coding skills. And it's mainly from my standpoint. I want to continue to better myself as an engineer, better myself as a person who codes, and this is only to test where I am at. If I get a job offer from these thing companies, that's cool. But ultimately, I'm just continue trying to be better as an engineer overall. It doesn't really matter what company I work at. But to answer your question, I'm not going to apply. If they reach out to me, we'll see. But thank you for your question, Tammara. I really appreciate it. All right, so that's number 2 topic that I wanted to bring up. All right, number 3 topic of the harsh realities of being a software engineer, and you'll also hear about this constantly as well. Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is the second topic of today's the harsh reality of being an engineer. And sometimes the crazy part is this may not ever go away depending on how you are as a person. And I think this is more of like a self-esteem type of thing. And let me see if I can break it down in this one definition I wrote down. So imposter syndrome refers to an internal experience of believing that you are not as competent as others perceive you to be. While this definition is usually narrowly applied to intelligence and achievements, it has links to perfectionism and social context. So the whole bits of being competent. I think if you have competence, you feel confident. You have competence, you feel confident. Dang, I don't know if I said it right. If you have competence, you feel confident. And I think that's really important. If you know what you're doing, you're gonna feel great at what you're doing. You don't really have to explain to anyone else. As long as you know you're doing, you feel great at the end of the day. And I think that's really important part of you know, imposter syndrome. And I think that's why a lot of people feel imposter syndrome every now and then, is just feeling inadequate and doing what they're doing, because most of the time they're trying to compare themselves with other engineers who have other lifestyles, and they might be doing something, something else that give them more free time, or give them, I don't know, they just have a genius brain. I don't know. They sleep and live code every single day. At one point, I was sleeping and living code every single day, but nowadays, I do some studying here and there, mainly on the things that I work on, which I explained earlier. I mainly do Salesforce stuff. So anytime I get a chance, I do some studying on a particular area of Salesforce. And right now, I'm trying to get my application architect in Salesforce and be a certified application architect. But that's only gonna help me give me the confidence, that I need to do exactly what I need to do. Because every time when someone asks me a question about what I'm doing and where I'm going with this particular solution, I need to, give them details on the drawbacks of this particular solution. Or if it's not going to work for them, all right, is there another way we can go about doing this? And I need to be able to come up with that. And I think a lot of people who, at the very beginning, or they don't feel like they learned enough in this particular space, or they haven't been keeping up with this particular space, they feel very incompetent, and they continue to compare themselves with other people who might be continuing to learn while they're doing it. Like they might be doing some learning outside of work, not doing hours. They might not tell you that they're doing that, but that's only for them to feel confident, so they don't feel this need of inadequacy. And I started to learn that over time as being engineers, that people do a lot of stuff outside of work that gives them the extra edge, the extra, oomph that they to do what they need to do. And yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years, and focusing on one particular space of software development. And yeah, and I do agree with this link to perfectionism. Like in our culture, in our, like, I guess in American culture or whatever, people really hate the word failure. The sense of failure is or the word of failure is like, is a bad word. Um and people either don't want to do it, or they don't want to fail, right? And I think one of the biggest part of being an engineer is being to constantly fail, trial and error. And because sometimes your work might not be working out for you in your particular in a particular way. So yeah, I think that's really important part is constantly failing, constantly putting yourself out there, and knowing that failure is just the journey. It's part of the journey of being a software engineer. And I think if you continue to learn and feel confident in the area of development that you're working in, you're going to continue to be more confident in what you're doing. So that's how I think you can really alleviate this imposter syndrome. But it's just almost like the fact of the matter is that just sometimes that's what you're going to deal with in this engineering field. People are going to make you feel like you're inadequate, you're not doing enough, and it's going to be a constant hustle culture. But you can do it at your pace. This career is a very much marathon rather than a sprint. So don't burn yourself out, and let people push you doing something that is, is going to stress you out. You should do it at your own pace. All right. And the last bit of the harsh reality of being a software engineer is number four, which I kind of spoke on, which is it's almost like the reason why I got into software engineering, but why a lot of people think is, very stressful too, is you always have to learn. You're always learning. You always need to stay up to date with the technology. And people might say staying up to date with the technology, such as, oh, I must know this framework, I must know this thing, or I need to know what this backend is doing at this particular thing. But sometimes you might not need to know all those things. If you work in a particular space of engineering, um, you can just focus on that particular space, because you might not need to go out and know this particular thing about how this is working. And I can give you an example. Like right now, I'm doing Salesforce, and I'm learning more about the data modeling of Salesforce and how data management happens between internal and also external systems. I don't only need to know anything too much about the external side. I just need to know that, all right, if I set up this call out to get information from an external side and it loads up into my Salesforce instance and my Salesforce sort, I have an interface that can handle that, and also have an external object that I can set up there to stream real time. I never had to store anything on my Salesforce sort and utilize any storage capacity. So like I never really need to know anything about how this external system work outside of Salesforce. I just need to know how this external system can connect to Salesforce and how Salesforce can connect to the external system to get that information. So it's just like that particular thing is like it's so important to understand. I don't need to know anything about AWS if I am working in AWS. Um, no, not if I am. Sorry, I don't need to know anything about AWS. I just need to know about Salesforce and how they can work together in service and doing that integration. And that's a really important thing to know. But you always gotta continue to learn, stay up to date, and that's one of the reasons why I stay in Salesforce right now is because it makes it super easy to find the modules because I have these certifications and I have to do modules on like winter, fall, spring, and summer and stuff, and to stay up to date on my modules. And it's very easy in a consolidated space, and that's how I continue to maintain my certifications. And that's why I'm always going to continue to stay up to date with my certs in Salesforce in this particular moment. I might move into something else later on because like I really like the whole sense of cloud architecture, cloud service, solutioning and stuff. And so I might move into a little bit of other things once I get the in a headspace of I'm really great at Salesforce and then I need to move on to something else. Because I kind of spoke of this like in some of my videos or in my previous live stream. I really, really did like how AWS works and how that whole entire solutioning piece worked. So I might be getting certified maybe in the next year and look into AWS as another thing that I add to my skill set because a lot of people are using AWS. So yeah, um, so yeah, and the reason why I think this is a bad thing sometimes is because there's no other career. And Jocelyn, another YouTuber I watch as well, he made the comparison where what other career do you know who who does work outside of like work hours just for fun? And he's saying like basketball players and stuff, they actually do the stuff outside of playing the real game, and they do it for fun with like other NBA league players. And he's saying saying the comparison is like almost pretty much very similar. Is that you code during the day, and then you go home and you code during the night just to have for fun, or you building projects and stuff like that. And and I say there's definitely truth behind that, but I don't say you have to do it constantly all the time. You can have like spurts here and there, um, while you're going after work and continue to learn about something, continue to update your knowledge in this particular space. So I think that's a more important like way to put it rather than saying you have to do it every single day after you get off the work, because I think that's unrealistic and it plays on your mental constantly. You shouldn't be looking constantly at a screen anyway. Even if you have blue glasses, blue blue light glasses and whatever. I don't think we're physically made to sit at a desk constantly looking at stuff. And I have a standing desk, and I still don't want to look at a screen constantly. I have to take a break. So, yeah, right now, you know, I say I do something every quarter, building a project or something. I try to do something related to something else outside of Salesforce and build something. And I've been building this one project for a very long time, for the last year. I haven't really touched it really. I just been looking at it and figuring out this one last piece that I need to figure out to finish it out. But that's just something I do personally. I think it's going to bring a lot of value to other people. And I think that's one of the things that another reason why I want to be a why I wanted to be a software engineer is bring a lot of value to other people. And that's why that drives me to constantly learn is sharing this knowledge that I continue to learn with other people. And that's the end all motivation for me. If I was just learning this for myself, I probably won't continue to be motivated to like do this, to be honest. I have to be able to share stuff. And I think as human beings, we are creatures of sharing stories and stuff. And yeah, that's, that's just a factor in the matter. So it looks like we're coming on the end of this. I do appreciate everyone who came through and showed me love. Thank you very much, Tammara. You're the real one out here. I know other people are going to continue to come out and show me love. And I do appreciate everyone who came through to just view it. I understand. Just hit me a like on this live stream. Let me know if you guys like it in the comments, and see if I can continue to do this after March 2022. So yeah, like I said, I'm only gonna get better at this. Only gonna get better. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Hope I brought you value, and you guys have a great one. Peace.